Michigan football has had a crazy few weeks. They ended up going through the whole NCAA investigation, won a national championship, lost Harbaugh to the NFL, promoted Sharon Moore to head coach, are now going to lose one of the biggest class of starters in college football history, and now have to replace one of the best quarterbacks in school history, J.J. McCarthy. There is a lot that Michigan will have to reload on next year, but the quarterback position to me is honestly still a little bit concerning. While I will say Michigan does not need a superstar quarterback to be successful, it would really help, and I'm just not sure what the 2024 position is going to look like. At a school like Michigan, you would think they'd have a plethora of big-time names, but they really don't. They have 2 3-star quarterbacks, an experienced veteran backup, a 7th-year guy, and then a highly recruited freshman. Honestly, on paper, none of those names really stick out to me, and in my opinion, Michigan could be in a little bit of quarterback trouble for 2024. In today's video, we're going to preview the Michigan Wolverines quarterback room, go through the 5 guys who are competing for the starting job, I'll give my thoughts on each, who I think should win the job, and if it is fact or fiction that Michigan has a quarterback problem. I'll reveal the answer later. But before we get started, if you're a big college football fan, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support what I'm doing here, and let me know what topic I should cover next for the 2024 season. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about Michigan's quarterback room, or their problem. So there are 5 different guys we're going to talk about in today's video, and the first one is Davis Warren, and in my opinion, he is the least likely player to see the field, but he might have the best story. He was originally from LA, but would eventually transfer across the country as a high school player, and ended up becoming a solid player, throwing for 607 yards and 6 touchdowns during a shortened season. Unfortunately, his senior year would end up being canceled, and he was just your typical above-average high school player, but in the meantime, he'd have to deal with some serious adversity, which set himself up for an amazing story. He was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer in high school, but he fought tooth and nail to continue to play, and wanted to make his dream of starting as the quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines a reality. He decided to walk on, and has been trying to climb the depth chart ever since. He would not end up playing as a freshman, and as a sophomore, he would appear in 5 games, completing 5 of 9 passes for 89 yards, and also rushing for 30 yards on the ground. In 2023, he would appear in 3 games as a quarterback, throwing 5 attempts and running the ball twice. He ended up having a really solid spring game in 2023, which did create some buzz for him, but unfortunately, I really don't think he's going to be anything more than just a great story, or someone who comes in garbage time. He said, quote, "When I came here, I wanted to be the starting quarterback at Michigan, and I think I have the talent and ability to do that. The one thing I won't knock Warren for is his heart, his confidence, and his desire, but I just don't think it'll end up happening." He gets an A+ though when it comes to the story. The second guy we're going to talk about is Jack Tuttle. If you're a big college football quarterback recruiting guy like I was, Jack Tuttle was a big name back in 2018. It's unbelievable that he is still playing. He was a huge recruit in California, and his wide receiver in high school was actually Chris Olave. As a senior, he threw for over 3,000 yards and 41 touchdowns, and also had 2 scores on the ground. He was one of the top gunslingers in the country, and decided he wanted to go to Utah. He committed to become a Ute, and famously is actually the reason why Zach Wilson didn't end up going there. Apparently the Utah staff wanted to bring in Wilson as well, but Tuttle said if they brought in the second guy, he would not stay there. They decided to go with Jack instead of Zach, and while I don't necessarily really think it bit Utah in the long run, it definitely was not a fair trade. Zach became a star at BYU, and Tuttle left after 1 year. In terms of his ranking, Tuttle was a 4-star recruit, the number 7 quarterback, and the 110th best player in the nation. When he decided to transfer to Indiana, I believe he was the highest ranking quarterback to ever come to Bloomington. At the time, Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator for the Hoosiers, and he would end up playing in 5 games as a backup in 2019. In 2020, he'd become the backup to Michael Penix Jr., and when he went down against Maryland, Tuttle would have to appear in 3 games. He ended up totaling 362 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also ran for 37 yards. He made his first career start against Wisconsin, in which he won, and then he got embarrassed in their bowl game against Ole Miss. In 2021, Penix would once again get hurt, so Tuttle would have to appear in 6 games, starting 2 of them. He threw for 423 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also had 5 interceptions. He also famously entered the transfer portal, apparently came back, and then ended up getting hurt. Many thought he had 1 final year of eligibility, so he decided to transfer up to Michigan, and some say he was ring chasing. He ended up getting his ring, and after playing in 1 game last year, he got hurt. For some reason, he got a waiver from the NCAA to play again, so now he is one of those guys that is just continuing to never leave college football and probably needs to get a real job. But I have heard he's trying to go into coaching, and there's honestly no shot that he starts for Michigan, so he's just another intriguing piece to have in the quarterback room. So those first 2 guys are great stories, but these next 3 are really who are going to compete for the starting job this year. First, we're going to start with a guy who may have the most talent and potential, but probably has the least likely chance of winning the job out of the three. That is Jaden Davis. He's by far the most highly decorated player on the depth chart, but as I said, he doesn't have a lot of experience, but with the 4-game redshirt ability, he should get his feet wet and get on the field a bit this year. For many years now, people have known that Jaden Davis was the next big thing, and early on, he was listed as a 5-star player and the top quarterback in the state of North Carolina. He's been under immense scrutiny since he was in middle school, as in 8th grade he got offers from both Georgia and Alabama. This made the guy a huge deal. He eventually would end up getting to high school, and in his 2 seasons at Providence Day High School, he was insane. Fun fact, Will Greer's dad was coaching him. He ended up leading the Chargers to a record of 24-2, and they also won back-to-back state championships. Through his 4 years as a high school quarterback, Davis would have a total of 111 touchdowns, over 9,000 yards, and had 33 scholarship offers. Every big-time program in the country wanted him, but he decided to commit to the Michigan Wolverines, and this was a huge get, as unfortunately, the Wolverines have whiffed on a ton of big names over the years. According to 24/7 Sports, Davis ended up slipping, as he was listed as a 4-star recruit, the number 9 quarterback, and the 111th best player in the class of 2024. So, he had a lot of hype to his name. He ended up joining the team for the Rose Bowl practices, and Harbaugh kept raving about his athleticism and his ability to process defenses and take in information. He said that combination is rare for such a young player, and there is no reason to stunt his growth by playing him when he is not ready. He's probably going to sit on the bench this year in redshirt, learn from the coaching staff, get a little bit of experience on the field, and in my opinion, probably take over in 2025. He's the future of the program, and should get a chance to play because you don't want the guy to transfer. Unfortunately though, he's not going to start this year, unless the 2 more experienced guys in front of him are really awful or get hurt. The first one of those is Alex Orji. Because of his insane athleticism, he does have a shot of being Michigan's starting quarterback in 2024. Ultimately, I think he finishes second in the race though. He is the brother of former Vanderbilt star Anthony Orji, who I believe is in the NFL right now, and Alex has been turning heads since he was in high school, but he was always underrated while he was there. While he was in high school in Texas, he turned heads in a very shortened junior campaign, but ended up having a huge senior year. He passed for over 2,000 yards and had 28 touchdowns and then over 1,000 yards and 24 scores on the ground. He was truly a dynamic dual threat, but the big-time offers were not necessarily flying in for him. While he was good, he was just your average 3-star recruit and was second fiddle to Jaden Denal in their 2022 class. Ultimately, Alex was listed as a 3-star recruit and the number 50 quarterback in the class of 2022. He still did arrive with some fanfare though. As a freshman, he would appear in 3 games at quarterback, running for 2 touchdowns. I remember him getting a ton of hype for that, and I actually made a short video about him last August, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave it down below. In 2023, he ended up appearing in 6 games, carrying the ball 15 times for 86 yards and a touchdown, and famously had a big run in the Ohio State game. Standing at 6'3" and 235 pounds, he does have the physical attributes to be a quarterback, and the staff claims he has an impressive arm, good speed, and agility, and they think he could have an impact being the starting quarterback for them. Ultimately, I do think he'll get playing time, but I don't think he's actually going to be the full-fledged starter. He may split duties early on, but at the end of the day, I believe he ends up as a backup, not necessarily because he's not good enough, but because I think Jaden Denal is just the better player. In my opinion, Jaden is the most likely starting quarterback this fall for Michigan, as he's the most polished quarterback on the roster. While he was at Apple Valley High School in California, he played in a total of 27 games and totaled more than 4,600 yards and 69 passing touchdowns during his career. Because of this, he was seen as a high major quarterback prospect, and Georgia, Michigan, Michigan State, Auburn, Arkansas, and Utah all threw him offers. Except though, because of everything going on in the world in 2020, coaches really couldn't do in-person evaluations, so a lot of teams lost interest in Denal, but he did remain in contact with Michigan's quarterback coach and eventually became a top target for the Wolverines. He decided to commit, and at the time by some sources was considered a 4-star recruit, but that ranking would take a slight dip by the end of the year. According to 24/7 Sports, Denal was a 3-star recruit and the number 19 quarterback in the class of 2022. He was actually technically listed as the highest ranking 3-star in the class, so he's pretty much a 4-star. He ended up arriving in 2022 alongside Alex Orji and would appear in 1 game as the 3rd-string quarterback behind Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. In 2023, he would appear in 6 games at quarterback, completing 4 or 5 passes with 1 touchdown. Denal is 6'5", and Harbaugh has been really high on him. He said, quote, "He's a guy who throws the ball extremely well and is pretty darn athletic." Most recently, Michigan's quarterback coach said, quote, "In my eyes, he was the most improved player on offense. From my time being an analyst and me being able to get my fingerprints on him, his development in over a year has been vast." He also went on to compare Denal to Ben Roethlisberger, And in my opinion, Denal is not only the best quarterback on the roster, but has the most potential. I mean, he is 6'5". The guy has all the physical traits you want, apparently has a really good arm, and has been developing quite well. Right now though, it's still all hype, but I do feel Denal will be the starter come September, and while I don't think he'll be a superstar right away, he should be able to get the job done. Overall, Michigan is in a really weird spot, and some would say they have a quarterback problem. Going into researching this video, I honestly was a little bit concerned for Michigan's quarterback room this fall, but honestly, I don't necessarily know if they're going to need Denal to be a superstar. Michigan will probably once again build through defense, a great offensive line, and run the ball. So at first, I think whoever starts will be slowly weaned into the offense and won't have a ton of pressure. I also think Sherrone Moore knows exactly what he's doing, and I think they're going to end up being alright. Will their quarterback be a first-team all-conference selection? Probably not. But will he be able to lead them to the college football playoff? Probably. Overall, it is a really weird situation for them. They have a 7th-year quarterback, a former walk-on, 2 developmental 3-stars, and then a big-time freshman. For some reason, Michigan whiffed on elite quarterbacks over the last few years, but now that they got one from Davis, it should kickstart them being able to land an elite prospect each and every cycle. But for now, I'm going to say that Michigan doesn't have a quarterback problem, and that they will be fine come this fall. There will be some growing pains, but the Wolverines will figure it out. But what do you guys think? If you're a Michigan fan, what do you think of the quarterback situation? Who do you think should start and why? And what topic, player, or quarterback room should I take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.